There's new audio in the John Paul and Mica Miller story. And in the audio, John Paul Miller is confronting an employee of his for allegedly kissing his wife, Mica. That employee's name is DJ. And in the early morning hours of March 11th, he was with Mica Miller. The private eye, hired by John Paul Miller, who was tracking Mica at the time, captured the two together. And allegedly, they kissed.
Walk away.
I'll show you the pictures.
Do you want to go to jail?
They'll be on Facebook in a few hours.
Alrighty, you'll be in jail in a few hours.
That PI allegedly contacted John Paul Miller. But before I go into what happened next, take a listen to the confrontation.
Yeah, where did you touch her?
Just like nowhere below reproach. That's a promise.
Well, the person that saw and got the picture said that you touched her chest.
I didn't. We kissed, so maybe like her face, neck, but I promise you that nothing below the neck, chest.
And she touched you where?
Just the same place, like my face and like my chest.
My guy said there was more than that.
More than what?
More than what you're telling me.
Well, I'm telling you, if you have the videos and the pictures, you can fact check it.
He'll have them to me by morning time. But he told me there was more than that.
Well, that is exactly what happened. There was nothing more than kissing. Nothing more. I promise you that. And then you'll see then.
He said that both of y'all touched each other inappropriately.
No.
As a result, DJ, the employee, was fired, as mentioned in this sermon by John Paul Miller.
I had somebody on my staff, a young person that I had to let go. I said, listen, I don't want you doing this anymore. This is something that I don't think is right. I want you to stop. And they looked at me and they said this, well, God's my ultimate authority. I said, what did you just say to me? They said, well, if God tells me I can do it, then I can do it. I said, you work for me. They said, God's my, I said, you know what? Get God to sign your paycheck for you because you're fired.
But now let's go back to that infamous morning and break down exactly what happened. When John Paul Miller got the call from the private investigator that Mica had moved on from him, John Paul picked up the phone and began frantically calling Trisha Ross. Ross, who was staying with her daughter that weekend, was asleep. So John Paul picked up the phone and called Trisha's daughter. At 2:05 in the morning, Trisha's daughter answers, and John Paul allegedly demands to speak to Trisha. She goes and wakes up Trisha and proceeds to listen to the conversation between Trisha and John Paul Miller. According to Trisha's daughter, John Paul was wanting to know what type of car DJ was driving. And then moments later, everyone returns to their bedrooms and an alleged text message exchange happens between Trisha Ross and her daughter. Trisha reveals that she was trying to calm John Paul Miller down and says, "We all do stupid stuff when stuff like this happens." Hours later, Mica Miller files a police report that her tires had been slashed. John Paul denies slashing those tires.
And this is adultery, right? This is straight up adultery.
I do, and I'm repenting to you.
Because we're not legally separated. Even if we were legally separated, it's still adultery.
And I am incredibly, incredibly sorry. And I honestly do not expect
Why do you think she called you? Like, do you not see you talk about this discernment, you literally have zero discernment. But do you not see that a married woman called you and asked to meet you at the beach?
I do. That was incredibly...
I thought you had discernment. You said you had discernment better than a 70-year-old man.
I was saying better than some 70-year-old men. And, I'm not on the phone to argue with you. I'm repenting to you. I honestly don't know what else to tell you other than to ask for your forgiveness. And honestly, I don't even expect that from you.
No, I forgive you. No, I forgive you.
And, I am sick to my stomach just from all of it, the whole thing.
You know, Micah did the same exact thing to me 10 years ago. Exact same thing. We met at the same place.
Really? Yeah, and it was just incredibly stupid on my part. And I take all the responsibility.
Is she saying she wants to date you or marry you or anything like that?
No, I mean, it was just really basic conversation. And honestly, she didn't even really mention you or anything. It was all just like normal conversations. She talked about like the Valorous Church and how she was going there and liked it and stuff.
And you kissed her or she kissed you?
It was really like a mutual thing.
Y'all were holding hands?
Yeah.
Okay, well, you didn't answer that earlier when I said how y'all were touching. You never said y'all were holding hands.
You're right, but yeah, you asked. Yeah, you're right.
Y'all held hands for a long time.
I wouldn't, definitely not the whole time, but I mean, an extensive period, definitely longer than we kissed.
But remember the waitress, the woman that John Paul left his phone number for in a restaurant just a few weeks prior to March 11th? That alleged conversation lasted for weeks, where you can allegedly see John Paul begging for photos. And just 2 days prior to March 11th, on March 9th, this alleged text conversation between the waitress and John Paul Miller took place.
You know, I just made love to her 4 weeks ago, and she told me I was the best husband in the world. And you know everything I've been through with her, and just like that, you're going to take that from me? Like, just like that, you're going to ruin... She's never slept with anybody other than her first husband. I'm the only person she's ever kissed up until now. So if she comes back in 3 months or 6 months, what's that going to feel like?
I'm so sorry.
Or a year? And I warned you. You know I warned you.
You did. You're right, you did.
And you got mad at me when I warned you. You got all defensive. And your mom got upset and sent me a really, really mean text. Because I'm trying to save your butt from the same thing that I fell for. Don't come on the property. Don't have anything to do with anything at Solid Rock until I look at the videos and see if you're telling me the exact truth.
Mica Miller officially moved on from John Paul. She was done with him. And weeks later, according to police, Mica took her own life in a North Carolina state park. And believe it or not, there's even more to March 11th. And the FBI has it all.